Hey, Flooring Bros. I'm Jerry Levinson, and this is the Flooring Business Podcast, where we talk to expert flooring dealers, suppliers, marketing experts, software experts, and anyone I believe is going to help you in your flooring business. Now, my mission is to give you good information that's going to help you reach your goals. If you're just starting out your business, or you're trying to reach 5 million in sales, or you're getting ready to sell your business, you're going to find useful information that'll help you reach your goals and profit now in the flooring industry. The Flooring Business Podcast is sponsored by Ring Ring Marketing. Go to ringringmarketing.com and request your free analysis on your area and scope of work. They'll give you recommendations to help you reach your goals and profit now in the flooring industry. Now, I'm excited about this week's guest. I'm tee it up for you guys a little bit, but this gal, Monica, we hired her back in, I don't know, it was like 2017, 18, when we opened up our Glendale store. I had my dad working out there, and we needed somebody to work that store. I'll tell you the story later in the podcast, but Monica really went from somebody that was about to lose her job to the top performer in the company. And you're going to want to hear her story because it's fascinating. And she's been with the company longer than any salesperson to date. And her performance has been outstanding. So you're really going to want to listen to this and see how the salesperson went from not even ordinary, but almost losing her job to the top salesperson in the company. What does she do to so dramatically change it around? And what has she done to keep up with that pace and keep her sales at or over $100,000 a month? Great lesson for all you salespeople out there. All right, in today's show, I've got Monica with Vision Flooring, and this is a great story. So I really wanted to bring Monica on because she really turned her game around quite a bit. And I want to take you back to the beginning of when we hired her and why we hired her. I don't know if you know the full reason and the whole story about why I chose you. So when you're looking for a salesperson, ideally you want a rock star, somebody aggressive, assertive, that's going to sell a lot. Well, in this case, I needed somebody that, one, could get along with my dad, which isn't easy.
Right.
And two, we were growing that business in Glendale.
Mhm.
So if you get somebody that's very assertive in that, they would get bored and they would leave.
Mhm.
So I needed somebody that had the patience to let us grow the business because there wasn't enough leads coming in at the time.
Right.
So it was kind of boring out there. So it was a tough duty on two parts getting that. You were a manager at another company. What was the company? It was a pawn shop, wasn't it?
I've been a manager at a bunch, pawn shops, floor cleaning company, fast food, lots of different, but pawn
Yeah.
shop was my big one. Yep.
Were you ever in sales?
No, nope,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't even recall that that you didn't have a sales background.
nope, no sales.
So you're a warm body, you're reliable. I knew we could grow with you. And I'm really confident that anybody with the process and the system, which we'll get into more, that we could teach anybody how to sell. That's got a good personality, that's good with customers,
Mhm.
that we could teach them how to be a good salesperson.
Mhm.
So fast forward, we closed up that store and opened another one up in Awatuki, which how much further was that from your home? You were in the West Valley, but you had to drive far north. In this case, you had to drive far east.
Yeah, exactly. The Glendale store was 20 minutes from my house. The Awatuki store is 45 minutes from my house.
Okay, and what about the Chandler store?
The Chandler store is over an hour from
Because
my
you
house.
ended up having to work both
Yep.
stores at the same time, which not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
So that was a very unique skill. So she was able to work both stores. Some days it'd be in Awatuki and some days it'd be in Chandler.
Mhm.
And since then, we closed the Awatuki store down. Shane has his store and just operating out of Chandler. Are you still in the same home?
Yes.
And then furthermore, your husband works here too.
Yep.
And he works in the carpet cleaning division, which was started new really with him in mind. I mean, that's the background that you guys came from.
Yep.
You came from a company that did that, right?
Exactly.
So we came to a point in the head, I mean, things just weren't working out,
Right.
right? I mean, uh, you weren't closing jobs, leads, we were frustrated. You didn't care for us much, I don't think. You certainly didn't care for me. You and I have not had a good relationship, and that's more my fault than anything, but me not having the patience. So but we were at a point we were gonna let you go.
Mhm.
And Miranda, the sales manager at the time, hold off, let me work with her. And she went from, we were gonna let her go, to having the best month anybody ever had in our company history at that time.
Mhm.
What was it? 100 and
Just over 100 the first time, but then it was 120.
nobody ever did over 100,000 at that point in our company's history.
Right.
So in any one month. So amazing turnaround. What do you attribute that to? What happened?
Two things: confidence and following the process. You had a really good process. And I think I'm really stubborn and I didn't want to follow that process. Once I decided I was going to follow that process, it started working.
It's very interesting you say that, and I honestly didn't know what it was, what turned that around, but it is funny, and I have a lot of clients, it's the same way,
Mhm.
where I can't get them to close in the home, and if you would just trust the process,
Mhm.
follow that process, it works.
Yeah.
And one thing I've told people when it comes to selling, and it has a lot more to do with the presentation than the price.
Agreed.
So having that presentation really helps you deliver a better experience to a customer,
Mhm.
and then being able to give a price easily. How difficult was it to learn how to sell flooring?
The flooring, it was easy. It was easy to sell the flooring. It's just that confidence and having a good solid process.
And you've never sold flooring before.
Correct. No idea.
So what do you think made it easy to learn?
Mm, it's hard. It's not even knowing the flooring, because that comes later. It's just knowing the people. That's what makes it easy to sell. You can sell anything if you understand the people that you're selling to, and the processes that you're gonna do. If you like selling that in the home is huge. Being able to be confident in that home and following that, again, the process. I'm gonna keep saying that because that's what it is.
How much do you think the price matters?
I don't think the price is the biggest thing. You have to build that relationship. It's building the relationship.
How much are you aware of what our competition charges? How much more expensive that we are, and how many times you're going up against a company that might have a better price?
So I am very well aware of our competition. Almost 100% of the time, I know that we're not the first quote. We're usually the second, third, fourth. We're never the cheapest ever. And we know that we have to compete, but we never beat anybody on price.
Yeah.
It's not something we do, but I'm not worried about it.
It's so funny, the culture of this company, because where when you go out first, and when people first hire me, the first thing we do is go through and raise the prices.
Mhm.
And I duplicate the system we have here,
Mhm.
and we create pricing, group pricing, bulk, bundle things together,
Mhm.
and make it easy for people to make a buying decision, right?
Mhm.
And we put those prices for everybody to see right on the display.
Mhm.
How big of a difference do you think that makes
It's
versus
huge, because when I tell people, we're going to include baseboards, that's one thing they're like, what? Like, where you're not going to add on top of that? Or, every time I do a hard surface job, oh, well, what about tile tear out? No, when I say all inclusive, it's everything. And they're
about
like,
moving furniture?
moving furniture? What? Even this? Yeah. So, the other quotes we got, it's this plus this plus this. And I'm like, well, that's what makes us different, is we're not going to tackle all these little things on top of you. My whole sales pitch with them is, buying flooring is expensive. It sucks. We want to lessen that blow for you. We're going to really take care of you. This is what we're going to do for you.
But and here's a huge lesson with this. The experience is here you're giving them a higher price than the competition, but they're frustrated with the competition who's nickel and diming them for everything, charging them for everything. You didn't charge them for everything, but your price is higher.
Yeah.
So the experience for the customer is, oh yeah, I want the Happy Meal. I want it all.
Yep.
And I don't want to pay extra for this and this and this, even though at the end of the day, they're paying more money.
Peace of mind. They
Yeah.
they know they're getting taken care of with one person, one price, with this other company, they may be cheaper, but now are they gonna be worried at the end of the day of their price increasing, having to subcontract something out? Somebody not taking care of them at the end of the day, they don't know, they don't have that peace of mind. With us, they
Yeah.
do. So,
And then the other thing is things like we talk about the quality, like, do you know how the product's made?
I mean, I do because
And why
I
it's
live
stain
in,
resistant, and why
but it's not, I don't
scratch
wanna say it's not
resistant.
important, but it's not important. I know because I get it hounded into me by our reps all the time. But it's not important, people talk about insurance and what happens if it floods? Well, if it floods, you're gonna get your floors replaced anyways. If it's this, if it's that, you make a claim. It's more important. What's the look? What's the warranties? That's what's important. It's not, oh, it's got 10 layers of this or 15 layers of that. That's not what's really important.
Well, and we need like a Noah's Ark insurance. So if there's a flood
Mhm.
and Noah's building the ark in your backyard and the animals have to come through your house to get to the ark, your floor is covered.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking
Yep.
for. It's like,
Yep.
come on, guys. When did everybody's house started having all these floods,
Mhm.
and waterproofing was a big thing? But it's a big thing in the industry, such as dogs peeing on the carpet. How many customers coming in and saying, "Hey, Monica, do you have a carpet that holds up to dog piss?"
I mean, I have lots of people asking, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
this is, what's the underlying issue here? Do you need to get rid of your dog? No. I ask them, what are you looking for? Do you have a dog that uses the bathroom all the time? Do you want to go to a vinyl? Do you need a different, we have special carpets just for pets.
yeah.
Is that the concern here? Let me learn more about your project so that I can find the best needs for you. But yeah, we have carpets that are specifically made for pets that have accidents. What's important to you? What's the most important thing?
So let's go back a step too. Customer calls you up and says, "Do you ever get this question? Hey, how much do you guys charge? Like, what does it cost for getting new carpet?"
Not
Or
every day we get those questions.
okay, how do I answer? I call you up and I say, "Hey, Monica, how much do you guys charge for carpet?"
We have a lot of different pricing. What kind of project are you working on? Tell me a little bit more about your project.
Good. Yeah, and that's the first thing we teach everybody is tell me about your project. What are you working on?
Mhm.
And learn and understand more about them. How important do you think the price really is to them? Or is that just the first question? That's just,
That's the first question they know to ask.
yeah,
They don't, people don't understand, at the end of the day, they only have so much in their wallet, but they don't understand those questions to ask. They want the value, they want the best bang for their buck, and that's the only question they know to ask.
right, right. So, um, tell me a little bit about your process. Okay, I'm a customer. I come in and I'm looking for flooring. What's your goal with me as a customer? Where are you going with me?
So my goal is to get into your house. I want you to go home that day with a few samples, not a lot, because I really want you to hone in on what you want.
A lot of people don't like giving out
Yep,
samples.
I like it because I want you to see it in your house, and I want you to be touching and feeling those samples so that you're in love with them by the time I get to your house.
Yeah.
So I want you to have 2 to 4 samples, 3 to 5 samples. I want you to bring them to your house. And then, but my ultimate goal is to get into your house, set that appointment right then and there,
Okay.
get into your house so that I can be there. Because being face to face with you, I'm gonna set that appointment and I'm gonna get that sale.
You came out to the house, you got the samples. I've got the samples in my home. What's next? You're at the front door, you come in, what's next? What's your process?
So my first thing, I come into the house, and me as a salesperson, I look around the house first and I find something that's gonna make me remember you. It's gonna make something that's gonna make it personal. You have a dog with 3 legs, I'm gonna remember that dog, and I'm gonna as soon as I leave, I'm gonna note that so that when I follow up with that person, I'm gonna remember that dog. So that's my personal thing. But I'm gonna do a walk around with that house. I'm gonna see what's going on, learn about that. Then I focus on the samples and I say, hey, what do you like in here? And if they didn't bring samples home, that's the next step. I have them look at those while I'm measuring so that they can fall in love again with those samples
Yeah.
while I'm measuring. And then I revisit that. Once I'm done, then we figure out what's going on with these samples. What do you like? Why do you like it? Oh, that's the good question time. And then that's when we start talking numbers afterwards. But right then, I want them to fall in love with the product, because once they fall in love with that product, numbers matter a lot less.
Yeah.
Because now they're in love with that product, and it's harder for them to say no and change their mind on
How many
something else.
times do you think people spend more money than they planned on?
Oh, 100% of the time.
Yeah, 100% of the
100%
time.
of the time.
Right. So, what if they say they have but I want to stick around 6,500 and your quote comes out to 8 grand? What usually happens then?
So everyone says they have a budget and everyone's budget is higher than they tell me.
Yeah.
Everybody. Generally, if they say, they won't tell me their budget up front, but after I give them their estimate, they'll tell me, oh, my budget was really around this. Is there anything better you can do? Yeah, let me see if there's
Yeah.
anything better I can do. But tell me a little bit of, what else are you looking for? Is durability or look more important? Or tell me a little bit more about why this is your budget. Tell me what's going on. And I like to learn a little bit more about why and what and where, when,
And when you show them the cheaper option, how
Mhm.
often do they go back to the more expensive one?
all the time.
All the time.
All the time, because
Yeah.
you show them the cheaper option and they're like, oh, this is gross. This is
Yeah.
like builder's grade, my first apartment, and I don't want that. And I'm like, exactly. This is gonna be the best for you.
Again, going back to the pricing in the showroom,
Mhm.
do you think people end up thumbing through looking for cheaper stuff, or do they gravitate towards more expensive stuff?
More expensive. We used to not have our hard surface priced in our showroom, and we were always showing our cheaper luxury vinyls, for example. About 6, 8 months ago, we priced all of our luxury vinyl, and now we're selling all of our Cortec. That's pretty much all we're selling is
Yeah.
and it's our higher end Cortec. And it's only been since we priced our hard surface, nobody's looking at our cheaper stuff anymore.
Isn't it funny? I mean, just it changes the entire dynamics of how
Mhm,
people
mhm.
shop. And people aren't afraid of the prices. Are the prices higher than what you charge? Like you offer a discount.
We do.
So you've got an inflated price on there,
Mhm,
and then you offer customers a discount.
mhm.
Were you guys as a sales team, did you give Shane a hard time or anything about the pricing? Were you nervous at all about those prices when you
So
put them on initially?
I was not so much about the actual prices. I was the one that did push back about putting prices on there. I liked the carpet because the carpet pricing was the installed price.
Yeah.
The vinyl pricing, that was just material. And we have stuff that says $9.98 a square foot. And they go to Floor and Decor, Home Depot, and they see $1.95, $2. Like I said, we have stuff that's almost $10 a square foot. So that it was me that pushed back. But it's huge. I've sold almost once a week, twice, 3 times a week. I'm selling the high end stuff because they like those prices. So I was wrong. So it was me
So
that was
something
wrong.
that's very normal that goes on here too is you talked in the beginning that you pushed back on the process
Mhm.
and you got to a point where you almost got let go and turn it around, follow the process.
Mhm.
Anytime anybody implements a new program or process, you always get pushback from the salespeople, and that's where the leadership comes in to
Mhm.
stick with it, understand that yeah, you're going to get pushback,
Mhm.
but you have to stick with it. And the only clients I haven't been able to help
Mhm.
have been the ones that couldn't stand up to their employees
Mhm.
because the pushback, they didn't like it when they complained. And I've often said, sometimes employees complain and it's okay. You
Yeah.
don't have to address every complaint.
Mhm.
It's just a normal thing that they do amongst themselves
Mhm.
and allow it to happen. We have one gal in here. I used to call it the bubble when Elizabeth was here, and that was the bubble. It's like that's where everybody goes to complain.
Mhm.
So don't go in the bubble. Um, but I've learned over time to not address every complaint
Mhm.
and not worry about everything.
Mhm.
So what happens? Okay, you're in the customer's home.
Mhm.
You measured everything. Are you giving them a price in the home?
Absolutely. There's almost never a time I don't give a price in the home. The only times I don't is if somebody has to leave fast or if the home is vacant, property managers. When you're in front of that customer, that's the best chance you're ever going to have to
Yeah.
sell. You can see their reactions. You know how they're feeling. You have the perfect opportunity to ask those questions. If you're over the phone with them later, they can hang up, they cannot answer. Being in front of that customer is the absolute best opportunity for you to sell that job.
I came up with this analogy once is that imagine that you're on a romantic date and then you go home and you're watching a movie and you end up taking each other's clothes off and then you say, let's have sex tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
let's get them all excited about the product and everything else. I'll give you the price tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I'll email you the quote later.
Mhm.
I mean, what a letdown.
Yep, because they want the price right then.
Yeah.
They're excited right then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And more people are focused on making sure they get it right
Mhm.
than giving them the price.
Yep.
And they're more focused on getting it right than getting the job.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, let's get the job and then do it right.
Absolutely.
So they want to make sure they get all the details correct. And that's part of the big thing about bundling. Like when it comes to baseboards, you're doing a luxury vinyl job. Do you ever measure the baseboards?
Nope.
No, you
Mhm.
just have a formula,
Mhm.
right? And everything works out. How often are you short or
Probably twice a year.
twice
Am
a
I
year?
short on baseboard? Out of the hundreds of jobs I do a year, maybe twice, and it's because of something weird.
And everybody that has these processes to make sure that they get it right
Mhm.
still has a mistake.
Yeah.
Every couple times a year, or every so often,
Mhm.
there's gonna be mistakes, no matter how careful or cautious. When you rip up the carpet, you don't know what's underneath the flooring.
Mhm.
So everybody runs into that, no matter how good you are on the front end. So let's sell the job, come up with our processes, and do a good job for the customer. Another thing, when you're given that price, how often are you actually closing in the home where they say, yes, we want to go with it, or versus, no, let me think about it
Oh, I just ran that number last week. I think that my numbers are in the 35%
in the home?
in the home. So,
And
um,
then your overall numbers are over 50, right?
my numbers for this year so far are at 68%.
Holy, that's
I
crazy.
just ran them, so 68% this year is
That's
where I'm
crazy.
at.
I was just saying in the video the other day that I think about 20% of people just don't do anything.
Yep, it's a lot, and I have not lost a customer for relationship in, I don't know, years.
Yeah.
But most of the customers that we lose they just don't do anything, snowbirds, personal reasons. And it's just, I'm just gonna hold off for a
I
little
also
while.
believe that given the price in the home still gives you a better chance of closing, not only in the home, of course, but it gives you a better chance of closing afterwards
Mhm.
because it's a better experience. How many people call you and say, I got another estimate. The guy never did get back with me with a quote.
All the time,
All the time.
all the time.
We did, I don't know if you remember, I did what do you call it? When you do a study, you have a secret shopper.
Uh-huh.
I did a secret shopper,
Mhm.
and you and my dad actually went
I
out to that
remember.
customer.
I
Yeah, you guys went
remember.
out there. We had 20 people.
Mhm.
She called 20 people. I paid this gal $50 in estimate.
Mhm.
And so she had 20 people come out to her house. And what I wanted to see was what was the process,
Mhm.
and who was good at giving a price in the home. You guys were the only ones. Out of 20 people, you were the only ones other than Empire had a tablet and they showed her the price. You're the only ones that gave her a written estimate in the home.
Interesting.
Many people never got back to her. Many people just emailed the quote.
Mhm.
Everybody tried to show her something cheap.
Mhm.
You guys were by far the most expensive because you showed her nice flooring and everybody else sold her something cheaper. And you were like there was only two or three that followed. There was, I think, two other companies followed up.
Hmm.
Like nobody followed up.
Yeah.
What's your follow-up process like?
So if we don't sell in the home, the next step would be the next day. I call whatever the preferred method is, call, text, or email. Hey, and I never say I'm just calling to follow up. I never say I'm calling to follow up. It's so stereotypical. My pitch is, hey, I just want to make sure you got your email,
Yeah.
because we do email them their quotes. I want to make sure you got your email. I want to see if you had any questions about it. And hey, yeah, I had a chance. I just haven't had a chance to talk to my husband about it yet. Great. When would be a good time that I can get both of you guys together that we can talk about this? Because that's always the excuse. If it's
Yeah.
if it's a wife by herself, they put it on their husband. Great. When would be a good time that I can talk to you both together? If they don't answer, leave a voicemail. But every single day, at least 3 times in that first week, you need to follow up with them. And if you're not reaching them one way, try a different method. Call, text, voice, email.
So
Mhm.
some companies like Empire will only do the appointment if both husband and wife's there. What is your guys' consensus about that? How do you feel about that?
I almost feel like it's disrespectful. We hear customers say that a lot, and I've heard, especially in the past 6 months, a lot of our customers, most of our customers are women by themselves, and they feel disrespected.
Yeah.
I would feel disrespected, if I were getting things done in my home and my fiance weren't home, because I'm the decision maker. So why does he need to be home for me to make my decision?
Right.
You know, and I would absolutely not be okay with that decision. So if they're comfortable in their own lifestyle and they set the appointment, there's no reason why I can't present that to them. They're an adult, they do what they want to do. Like,
Right.
I'm happy to give anybody an estimate. But I hear that a lot where they're
I-
like, oh, they won't even come out.
I say the two things you don't want when you're decorating is you don't want 3 women in the room or a man that
Or a
gets
man that gives a damn. Yep, it's true. It is so true.
So, and I agree 100% with that, I've never insisted that both decision makers are there,
Mhm.
because it does, there's a lot of women that want to do that on their own. There's a lot of men that don't care.
Yeah.
So normal men that don't
Yeah.
care.
Yep. You're already putting a bad taste in their mouth before you've ever begun the process.
I find that men care more about wood flooring, but
Yeah.
they don't care at all about
They just
carpet.
want the price, and then they don't care about anything else. And
Yeah.
so they don't need to be there.
Yeah.
So.
But usually when the man wants help with the decorating,
Mhm.
then it's really tough to sell because they may not agree and they end up doing nothing a lot of times.
Sometimes, but when guys need help with decorating, I just give my opinion. We're designers. We're not salespeople. We're designers. We give them that help.
I say, when you go into a restaurant, you ask the waitress, what do you like, or what do you
What do you
recommend? And she doesn't have the same taste as you.
Mhm.
Nobody can be furthest. Does anybody have the same taste as you when it comes to food?
Mhm.
But we'll ask a total stranger, what do you recommend?
Mhm.
And I think we need to be those advisors when we go out to the home too,
Mhm.
and not be afraid. I've always had a line I like to use in the customer's home is I said, let's play the if this was my house game.
Mhm.
This is what I would do.
Yep. Mhm.
And I feel like that gives them the freedom to choose or say, oh, I don't really like that. But it helps put them in the
Exactly.
direction where they're more confident about their choices.
For sure.
When you give them something they don't like, it gives them confidence to go in the direction of things that they do like.
Yep.
Helps them make a decision. So talk about follow-up, closing in the home. What happens if you've had it slow months, you've had bad streaks? What happens when, man, I mean, it's dead, or man, you can't close to your mother. I mean, it just seems like, you got a repeat customer and yeah, what the hell is going on right now? I can't close.
I mean, everybody goes through that. It's normal, and it's easy to kind of get in that rut where it's like, oh my gosh, like nothing can happen this month, and everyone goes through it.
You ever knee jerk lower prices?
Yeah, you want to, but when you do that, I think the customers can see that when you're like, oh, here's a price of 10,000. Oh, I can do 7,000. Well, why couldn't you have done 7,000 to begin with?
Yeah.
And they see that. So I train my people now not to do that. We hold that value, and if we do lower the price, we do an if then rule. So if I lower the price, then this is what I want from you. I want a review. Or if I do this, then I want this. So we don't do it for free. We say if it's the if then process. But when it's slow, we do other things. We go out and we network more, or we go and meet with realtors, property managers. So we just go out and do some networking
Yeah.
to bring in whatever we can.
You guys have a weekly meeting, right?
Yes.
So on that weekly meeting, what are some of the things that you review?
We review our numbers every week. We actually have up on the board there, how many estimates we've done in the previous week, how many in-home sales we got.
It's on the whiteboard in the
Yep,
room.
sorry, I'm reading it over there. Our total sales, our revenue, how many we have scheduled for the next week, and what our goals are. I really like that one, what our goals are for the week, because when we push our people, they're more inclined to reach those goals. And then we also put how many are close to closing. And I set that up a couple weeks ago because when we tell them that, like, oh, we have one that's close to closing, great, how can I help you with that? And I love it when we can help each other close.
Yeah.
Like I can, there's so many different tricks we can help each other with. Sometimes we're kind of stuck somewhere, but another salesperson might have a trick that can
Yeah.
help close a sale.
So what about sales training? You guys talk about, I always loved it when people got jammed up in the showroom because it gave me an opportunity to talk about an issue or subject, like when customers would ask, do you guys use subcontractors or in-house people? You know, and we never had a smooth answer for that. So when somebody gets jammed up, it's like an opportunity to say, okay, let's talk about how to be prepared and how to answer that question properly. So you guys do sales training
We do.
with your meetings?
Yep. So we do. We have some role playing that we do. We actually, when we do our roundtable, we ask, is there anything that you guys feel like you need to work on? Did you have any weird situations come up this week?
Oh, I like that.
That you got jammed up on? We
Yeah.
actually specifically say that thing. Do you have any weird situations that don't normally come up? And then we roundtable it and we'll do a role playing scenario, and ask them, how can we have better prevented this situation in the future? And then that's how we prevent it. That's how we fix it going forward.
Well, and you're managing the sales team. So how is it? People get so frustrated because they tell the salesperson something and that salesperson doesn't remember it. How many times do you have to tell a salesperson something to make it stick?
Depends on the salesperson, but we have written processes. And so, most salespeople, it's once, twice, three times, but we have a written process. So if it's more than I feel they need to know, I'm like, hey, go back to your process and review it.
Yep.
And we have it on the computer so they can go back anytime they feel like they need to review it. And that's usually what I'll do. But sometimes depending on the process that doesn't come up often, it might be multiple times.
I remember 6-7 years ago when I came up with the whole line of tell me about your project, what are you working on, as the response to what do you guys charge? And I found it works with everything. Like when I bring in a product that we don't carry, like tile, at that time we didn't carry tile. So we always, instead of saying, well, we don't have tiles, say, oh, tell me about the project. What are you guys working on? And I would ask the salespeople that during the weekly meeting every so often to check. It was like, this is the line you guys are supposed to be using. Are you using it? And sometimes you'd be surprised after a few months or so that no, they're still fumbling around with the answer. So that repetitive sales training was so important to keep up with them. So what advice would you have from people from slipping back into old habits, which is really funny because a lot of people do that. Even the people that I work with and I train, I can get them to selling and closing in the home, but then after a while, maybe they gravitate back and they go back to their old ways of, bringing this information back and emailing a quote.
Yeah. I would say, and maybe it sounds a little harsh, but if your process wasn't working to begin with, and you learned a way that is working, there's no reason to slip back to where you were because it wasn't working to begin with. And if you found a process that works, even when it's slow, everybody has slow times, follow that process because I promise it works. I'm not coming from a sales background. I'm coming from a psychology background. I have a master's in forensic psychology. So I'm definitely not coming from a sales background. And if I can follow the process and I can do over 100,000 in sales almost every single month for, I don't know how many months now, anybody can do that. Just follow, if you feel like you're slipping back, then follow up with your team and roundtable it with your team. And just get back to normal, get back to your training, do those role-playing scenarios, do those weekly meetings and get back to it. Because if you follow that process, it's impossible to fail. I really feel that way.
One of the reasons that we kept Monica is because she reminded us that she has a forensic background and that she could kill us and make it look like an accident.
100%
true. So what else is there? Anything you want to add that when it comes to advice to people that are struggling and maybe struggling with closing or struggling with getting a higher price? How important and valuable is it to have expensive products? Like some people don't have a Fabrica. They don't have Cortec. Everything in their showroom is a good price or value items. Like I'm not a huge fan of engineered floors, and they are a great company. I'll give them that. They're really good service, everything. And I love the rep that we have. His name is Frank.
Yep, he's my favorite. He's one of my favorite. I love Frank.
Every time he comes in, I say, hey, B team. So
I think if you only have value items, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your profitability. I don't sell Fabrica often, but having it there, showing people, you're going to get, if you just show them value, you can only sell down, you can't sell up.
Yeah.
And so, we have people that come in and say, I want the Cadillac of fabric. You show them that, $28, $30 a square foot installed is how we have stuff
Yeah.
priced. And then they're like, oh, maybe I don't want the Cadillac. Show me the next best thing. Well, now I'm showing them $15 a square foot installed, and that just seems so much more reasonable. Whereas they were going to come in and I was going to sell them $8 a square foot. You're going to limit yourself.
When you guys got the Fabric in,
Mhm.
Tough Tex was the most expensive.
Mhm. Mhm.
But then when you got the Fabrica, you started selling the hell out of Tough Tex.
Yep.
I mean, that was like you guys, and I think you still are the #1 flooring dealer for Tough Tex in this area.
Yep. When I first started, I remember you saying that our job average was around 3,500.
Yeah.
And I think now our job average is 7,800.
Wow.
So it's huge. Putting those better products in has really improved everything. We have a new salesperson that's been here since December, and I have been responsible for his training from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've only shown him how to show the really, really good products. And in his first 2 months, he's gotten almost 100,000 each month.
Wow.
First 2 months of
That's
sales.
amazing.
So it's not that you have to have sales experience. It's not this, it's not that. It's just that mindset, having that confidence, knowing that you can do it, and it's not the pricing. It's just having those relationships and having that confidence.
How long do you think, with the processes and systems you have in place, how long did it take to train John to sell on his own?
Oh, John was an exception. It only, before he grasped it, like 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So
I think you could train somebody in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I think, so John was an exception the
no,
other way.
no. I think that you can train someone in 2
John's
weeks.
very tall, but he's not very bright. Oh.
In a good way. You can train someone in 2 weeks, and I think that they're good to go on their own, like fully in about a month, because they don't have that confidence. He was good to go on his own, start making his own money in 3 weeks. And that's a rarity for me. So in a good way, he was good to go. And I don't feel like most salespeople really dig in and get the grasp of things until 3, 4, 5 months of being here. And he's good. You
ever hear my method for teaching somebody how to sell? It's something I give to people that are clients of mine, sharing it for free on this video here. But what you can do is you go out and you have post on Facebook saying, hey, I just started a job at this company and I need some help. I need some training. So would you allow me to come out and measure your house and give you an estimate on flooring? This isn't a trick to sell you flooring. I'm just trying to train, because the best way to learn is on the job. And let them go out by themselves, let customers ask them questions, jam them up. And then they're not practicing on real customers.
Yeah.
But let them go measure after 5 to 8 houses.
That's a really good idea.
Pretty good to go.
Yeah.
And then they can take that information, come back here with you and say, okay, this is what happened on the appointment. And you can also show them how to enter it into Floors app.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I think we learn more by doing than
just talking,
by shadowing or by, online with sales presentations and things like that.
I agree.
So training's exhausting too, isn't it?
I don't have time in my mind for that.
I mean, when you get somebody new in and you go around after a couple hours, you're drained. It's just emotionally draining, mentally draining. So, all right. What we're going to talk about, objections. Do you have any processes for overcoming objections, or do you even go there?
I don't usually go there, but one, when somebody says at the end, when you're not going to sell it in the home, and people say, I this is awesome, but I still want to get another quote. You validate them, make them feel important. And like I tell them, that's great. I always recommend getting another quote. Great. But make sure you ask, as a woman, I love to make them feel comfortable. I say, that's great. I love getting multiple quotes. That's super smart of you. But make sure you ask these questions. And I ask super important questions, like, hey, are they gonna move this furniture for free?
Yeah.
Are they gonna put this Dumbo spray down? Are they gonna do these things? Things that other companies may not be able to answer. And I tell them if they can't answer these questions, I would question that company. You know, without talking bad about another company. Now I have validated ourselves, you know, and then we give them our folders.
Yeah.
And everything that I've talked about is now validated on paper. And I'm like, hey, ask these questions, because if they can't answer those questions, you know, I don't know. I don't know about that company. That's how I overcome that objection right there. Because now they're going to call back and, hey, that company couldn't do this or this. Can you tell me more about that? And then
Isn't Dumbo spray the greatest thing ever?
it's amazing.
Like-
And it's so simple, so simple. And
It's a
people love
total
it.
selling
Yeah,
concept,
it's
and
amazing.
it's great because your competition doesn't have it. They don't do it.
Mhm.
And it's a pre-treatment to
Mhm.
get rid of dog urine, mold, mildew, bacteria, and odors. And it's something I made up out of whole cloth years ago. It was before we opened our doors that I created that, because I wanted this experience. I wanted to see if we had it and figure out what the cost is. It's like, just build it into the price.
Mhm.
You know, don't
Yep.
charge them extra for it, and do it every time. Don't make it an option. And because then what they do is they ask the competition about it, and they say, well, I don't know, I got to check. We've got something. I'm not sure what it is
Yep.
or what it costs, but I'll go back to the office and I'll let you know.
Mhm.
You know, and here you're doing it up front. What about the sales presentation? Do you give them a paper sales presentation anymore?
So we don't do a paper sales, well, yes and no. So we, in our folders, we have a piece of paper that's double-sided for carpet and hard surface. And I will handwrite, here's your price, here's the discount, here's what's included. But their official estimate is emailed to them, but they get to see it right then and there. But I email it to them while they're there. And if I know I'm not gonna sell it to them right then, I have them open it while I'm there, and then it lets me know. And we go over it. But the only thing that they really get handwritten now is what I write,
Is it-
in our
The
folders.
two things I love about the sales presentation, one is if you are working with just the wife, you're
Mhm.
basically training her how to sell to the husband.
Exactly.
So there's everything.
Yep.
And then two, it validates everything you do, because you could say everything,
Mhm.
but it doesn't have the impact that it
Mhm.
does when it's on paper,
Exactly.
you know, and in
Mhm.
writing. I'm a fan of paper. I still,
Yep.
you know, believe in chopping down a good tree to get a
Yep.
sale.
Oh, yeah, and I tell them that, you know, I say, hey, everything I'm about to tell you is written right here, so you don't have
Yeah.
to remember everything I'm telling you. This is, you know, this is exactly what I'm about to tell you. And they're like, oh, they love that, so.
Yeah. So, got the prices in the showroom. We're good at selling. Ever sold anybody in the showroom that was like, they came in with their measurements?
Yeah, yeah, it happens, actually more often than you would think. We get people that either want just material or, yeah, they give me their measurements, and then, I'll sell
Did
them
you
the
ever
product.
used to say, well, I can't do that. I got to go out to the home?
When I first started, yeah,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, every time they leave, they can go somewhere else. There's so many other flooring stores on the way back to their house.
Right.
Another store might give them a quote right there. So, yeah, we'll give them an estimate right there. And then at the end, I just say, hey, can we just go by and verify those measurements? And, most of the time, it's actually more than what they said. And we let them know that, hey, if it's more, we might just tack a little bit on the end. We don't even make you do it up front, but
Yeah.
we talk about all the hard stuff later. But yeah, we'll give them a quote. And
How about if I came in and I said, I need 800 feet of carpet,
Mhm.
you know, but I didn't give you my measurements. How would you handle that?
Sure, we can absolutely do that. However, you know, we really like to get to the house to verify those measurements. If you're comfortable with that, that's absolutely fine. However, you know, if we need more than that, I can't, we bring up different things depending on the situation, but hey, I can't warranty it if it's not, if it's more than what we need. Because sometimes you get argumentative.
I don't know if you
people, but-
remember on the backside of the flyers, I used to have a diagram there, and I said, customers' own measurements
Yes.
are usually
Mhm.
off by 20%.
Yep. Mhm.
And it's one thing to tell them, but if you've got
Show
it in
them.
writing,
Yep. Like the
then
12 by
it
12 or
validates it.
15 by 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's one thing I always found. It was, they
Mhm.
were always off by 20%.
Yeah, and we have our tablets now, so
Yeah.
when they show us their rooms, I put it on my tablet and show them exactly what they're gonna need.
That was funny because I came in one time, I did a video about how to measure for carpet,
Mhm.
and I asked a couple of the salespeople here, and you guys were using Measure Square.
Mhm.
I've never used Measure Square
Mhm.
before. So I asked them, how did you guys learn how to measure for carpet? They said, well, I don't know how to measure for carpet.
Mhm.
We use measure square. So they still didn't know how to, if that tablet was dead on them, they wouldn't know how to
Yep.
come up with the amount that they needed.
Yep.
But I thought that was fascinating. That's one of my number one performing videos. I thought it was one of the worst videos I've done. So, all right, this is great. I appreciate it, Monica. Is there anything else that you think that would help our audience when it comes to sales?
I think just the number one thing is build that relationship. If you build a relationship with your client, the numbers come second. Build that relationship because they're gonna remember you. If they're gonna spend 10, 20, $30,000 with you, then the number, you building that relationship with them, you're gonna get repeat clients, you're gonna get referrals. A lot of our business comes that way. So build that relationship with them.
It's also creating that process because
Mhm.
I can tell you in every aspect of my life where process mattered and when I didn't follow it.
Exactly.
Right now, I'm doing some day trading,
Mhm.
and the people I'm listening to,
Mhm.
it's all about following the process.
Mhm.
And once you deviate from the process is when you have failures.
Mhm.
Every time I hired somebody, if
Mhm.
I didn't use the process I created, I ended up with somebody from Empire that
Yep.
didn't work out.
I agree 100%.
So
When we lose jobs for budget reasons, to Empire and Express, we get a couple times a year, we get customers that call us 4, 5, 6 months later and say, hey, this was, John Doe. We should have gone with you. We went
yeah,
with Empire. They screwed it up. We just wanted to call and let you know we are so sorry. And I don't know why they call and let us know. But that's, because we build those relationships. But you're right about that process. If when I don't follow my process, I notice that my closing rate goes down, my pipeline goes down, and then when I'm back up on my process,
I
it's,
think the best thing, best referral you can get is from somebody that didn't use you and wish they did.
oh yeah,
It's like the
oh yeah,
greatest referral that you can get. Reviews. How many you guys have now?
goodness,
It's over
over 600,
over 600.
I
My
think, I
goodness.
believe.
How do you get reviews?
Actually, right before I came in here, I was late for you because a lady came in to pay her final balance and she was going on and on about the installer and then about John. And I'm like, hey, have you left a review yet? She's like, I don't even know how to do that. And so she doesn't know how to work Google. And so I said, you know what, let me text it to you. We have a program we can text it. So I texted it right to her and I showed her how to do it on her phone right while she was sitting there. And so we asked for them. We asked for the
Yeah.
reviews. We asked for them in the home. We bring it up probably 4 or 5 times during the process. When we meet the customers, we talk about our reviews. When we measure, we ask for them. Our installation coordinator asks for them. Our installers ask for them. So we bring it up all the time.
When somebody comes into the store, how often do they mention the reviews?
All the time.
Every
We went to Google and we saw how all your reviews, even your bad ones are awesome. We hear that
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah, don't be
it's,
afraid of those bad reviews.
yeah,
I'll show you how to
some of
write
ours are
responses that are
hilarious.
really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's funny that there are all these systems and programs you can use to help you get more reviews. But when it comes down to it, it's asking.
Mhm.
Even if you have the most sophisticated program, you still have to ask. So there's no need to buy an extension or some
Yeah.
other program,
Mhm.
just ask and then have that link ready and that you can text over. I think
Mhm.
that's built in through Floors app,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
So they
it
made it
seems
real
a little
easy for
weird.
you.
It seems a little weird because, it seems like maybe embarrassing, to ask for that, but we just did so much work. We worked with these people. They spent money with us.
Yeah.
Our installers busted their butts. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a
Did you
review.
ask him to mention the installer in the review?
Oh yeah, she asked me to write down the installer's name, John's name, and then she
Yeah.
asked for my name. She was
Yeah.
like, "You were just so nice." I'm like, you don't have to mention me, just John and
Yeah.
Jose, that they were great. But yeah, we mention it, and usually they leave the installers reviews, not even the salespeople as often anymore,
Yeah.
because they love our installers, which is great. That's what I want. But yeah, we asked for it because we earned it. We worked for it. We weren't asked
It's
for
the
it.
greatest strategy because it also makes the review longer,
Exactly.
which is good for
Mhm.
Google. And then another little trick for you guys, when you respond, always use keywords in your response. I'm glad your flooring project went well. I'm glad your carpet
Mhm.
install went well. So use some of the keywords when you respond. Don't
Mhm.
just say, hey, thanks for your review. We appreciate your business.
Mhm.
Put a little bit into it because again, it gets picked up by Google and SEO. So there's value to that. All right, good. Thank you, Monica. That was awesome. So appreciate you
Of
doing
course.
this interview. It's very valuable for those of you that want to sell over $100,000 on a consistent basis. Listen to this gal. She's got a lot of good stuff for you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks for joining the Flooring Business Podcast. If you'd like to have a one-on-one strategy call with me for your flooring business, where we can review where you're at and how you can increase sales and profits by 30% or more, go to jerrylevinson.com and request your free discovery session there. Also, the book's available, the Flooring Business Playbook. You're going to love this book. It's got a lot of strategies in it, ways that you're going to be able to grow your business fast. So let's discuss where you're at, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. I look forward to talking to you and helping you profit now in the flooring industry.